Welcome to the Wellness as a Way of Life podcast, your one-stop, all-encompassing source of wellness, knowledge, wisdom, inspiration, and motivation. Here we teach you why not all wellness trends are for you, how to figure out which ones are, how to best adapt them for your personal wellness toolbox, and how ultimately to integrate your wellness practices so fully that they become to feel like brushing your teeth. A foundational part of who you are and not a check mark on your to-do list. Today on the podcast, I am so excited to host two incredible leaders in the recovery and sobriety space. Alysse Bryson, also a dear friend. She is the founder of Sober Curator. She's based in Seattle, Washington. She's also the VP of Community Development at Work P2P, and a recovery and mental health activist. She is a strong woman in recovery, an innovative media maven, marketing guru, and gal about town. This sober gal has a humorous outlook on life combined with a fierce determination to succeed. She's got all sorts of cred. You can check it out in the show notes. And she drew me in the moment I met her, and it's such an honor to be a part of her project, the Sober Curator. I am one of the Sober Curators, meaning I am one of the people that writes for the blog. There are, I believe, 30-something of us at this point. An incredible community. Newcomer to the community is my second guest, Alysse Nyman. She is a fierce advocate for mental health, substance use, and co-occurring disorders. She serves as a volunteer for the National Association for Mental Illnesses, and uses her platform to raise awareness on how society addresses mental health, co-occurring disorders, and substance use disorders. We are going to talk all about the intersection of one of her projects called the Break Free Foundation and all the incredible events she does in New York, and how it's all coming together with her relationship and new role for the Sober Curator. So let's get into it. Welcome back to Wellness as a Way of Life. I'm excited today for this fun chat I'm going to have with two lovely ladies, welcoming Alysse Nyman and Alysse Bryson to talk about this new partnership and great synergy they have going on with their respective projects. So Alysse, why don't you start us off telling us, how you started the Sober Curator and why you're passionate about it.
Well, thank you, Megan. My name is Alysse Bryson, and I founded the Sober Curator during the pandemic. As a person in long-term recovery, who also has an extensive media background around lifestyle content for about 25 years, I had been looking for a website or a magazine that spoke to me as a person in long-term recovery that would let me know about all the content that has now come online in the last 5 to 8 years in the recovery community. Back in 2006, when I first got sober, there was no sober Instagram, sober Facebook, sober Twitter, sober Pinterest, Clubhouse, podcasts, and the self-help section at Barnes & Noble was quite small. And so I have had a front row seat over the last 17 plus years to see all these people start to recover out loud, and all these brands and different pathways to recovery really come online. And so I started to look for places where I could, because there's so many, like, how do I, as a busy career gal, just tell me where the good stuff or the best stuff is. And so as I started searching for it, there are some sites out there, but they seem to be very catered towards people that are sober curious or in early recovery. And they were always really inundated with treatment center ads, which is great. I kind of wish those things had been around when I was in early recovery, because I assume I would have consumed them and used them. But they didn't speak to me as a woman in long-term recovery. So when the pandemic hit and everybody was dancing on TikTok and baking banana bread, which I did too, to be clear, I kind of realized when we were in it for the long haul, and it wasn't just the 3 weeks that they said it was going to be, that I wanted to be able to look back at the time didn't realize it was going to be 2 years, but look back at the time and know that I had used that extra time well. And so that is what launched the Sober Curator 3.5 years ago. And now fast forward, and we have 31 Sober Curators, mainly in the United States. Megan, you are in Mexico. We have Tamar in Canada. We have Eve in the UK. The rest of us are in the United States. And it's become quite a community of curators that are contributing, curating, and putting together, I think, some of the best recovery content out there to show how much fun and entertaining and rewarding a life in recovery can be. And it just worked out. At a certain point, Kate Vitella came on as a Sober Curator, and we started doing a sober fashion column because I thought that would be great. We were both club girls that loved to get ready and pre-funk. And so we kind of had this idea about getting ready for life. And so she started her column, and that's when she came across Alex with Break Free. And she ended up walking in Alex's very first runway show. And so we've been friends and partners for the last few years. And just in the last few months, we have decided to take things to the next level.
Alex, take it from there. So what have you been doing since the pandemic, and how long have you been working on this project before it came to want to get married?
Yeah. So I believe 2017, I started taking fashion design courses through Mood University, which was right out of the New York Mood Fabric store. And that was really my whole introduction to the fashion industry. I did my first New York Fashion Week showcase in 2019. All of my experiences with doing showcases on the indie, all the way up to doing an official New York Fashion Week, the show. It sucked, honestly. It was very soulless. It was very like they only wanted to promote the brand of the showcase, not really any sort of conscious effort for the designers. And so in the back of my head, I had always thought, like, I really want to do some sort of a showcase, but I'm not sure what it would be or how I would do it. And then the pandemic hit, and it really gave me time to start thinking about what would this showcase look like? And if I was the one in the driver's seat, what are some of the differences that I would like to see? And so that really became the inception of the Break Free Foundation, where we are a nonprofit organization that provides scholarships for individuals who are living with substance use disorders to be able to attend a inpatient or outpatient facility at low to no cost to them. And so I was like, great, awesome. We're able to provide a service for a gap within the community that I've personally seen. At that point, it had been maybe like for the past 6 or 7 years, as I'd been the editor-in-chief to the now defunct Soberocity online blog that really, initially we had thought that we would cater our content towards people who are in long-term recovery, but the stuff that really had legs and kept taking off was for people in early recovery. And so I would get DMs all the time of people who were like, I really want to get into treatment, but I can't afford it and I don't know what to do. And to me, that was really distressing because I was like, I'm sorry, shoulder shrug. Like
I don't have answers. Yeah.
I don't have answers. I don't know of a resource that's out there. And so we decided to become that resource. And I wanted to find a way to marry my career as a fashion designer, as well as my love for philanthropy for the recovery community. And so I was like, let's just put them together and just kind of see what happens. And that's where our runway show kind of stemmed from. It's grown up to be the only nonprofit showcase that's on the CFDA calendar. Last season, we were also the official selection for the Fashion Week Online calendar. And we've had a lot of support from people in recovery who have walked our runways, as well as showcased their designs. And then it kind of stemmed an even larger conversation of, we really want to be able to cater to people in early recovery, but also to build a community of people in recovery for people and by people in recovery, so that there could be more options, more social meetups. And it really just became a natural synergy to be able to work with the Sober Curator, who has done such an incredible job in fostering that community and in showing them what a life in recovery looks like.
Yeah, that it's actually more fun, much to most of our surprise, right? I think that's like a big deterrent for a lot of people. And let's face it, you're probably going to lose some friends and make some new ones. But that doesn't mean that the overall experience is less fun by any means. So the actual project is highlighting not only designers who are in recovery, but the models are in recovery. Like, it's all a major intersection of good vibes, right?
Yeah, it also is one of the only dry New York Fashion Week events where we have a mocktail bar activation. So people, when they arrive, it's mocktail hour. You can try and sip on the groovy rosé or prosecco, and then you can go in, experience this fabulous fashion show, and then at the end you can enjoy an after party sans alcohol, and people still have a really, really great time. And to me, it was really interesting. I host smart recovery groups specific for individuals in the LGBTQIA plus community. And every single person in that group last night was like, well, I'm in really early recovery now, and I don't know where to go to meet friends. I don't know how to meet people. And I'm like, well, where are you located? And they're like, oh, I'm in New York City. And I was like, girl.
That is one of the easiest places.
Yeah. And so I was like, go check out the Sober Curator. Here's the info on our runway show. And here's the list of all the different like sober bars and places where you can go and hopefully meet your new sober best friend.
Your new sober bestie. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good place for me to just add, I didn't get sober the traditional way, so I didn't really have any community. And man, was it nice in the pandemic to find an online community. I mean, I found several, but this is really the one that stuck, the Sober Curators. And contribute. Also, it's really important as someone who's very passionate about optimizing everyone's wellness. I think we tend to focus on the one thing we're getting sober from, and then maybe don't have the energy or the tools or the know-how that there's like, it can just keep getting layer upon layer of better when you're focusing on other aspects of your health and wellness as you get sober. So amazing. So tell us, I love how you both pulled on the thread that it was, clarity during this forced slowing down. Have you always had sort of fun at the forefront of your sober journey, or is that a relatively newer passion?
I'll take that one. I have this distinct memory of being in treatment, in outpatient. I went to an all-female facility, and they had us in groups. I want to say there was 10 or 12 of us. I can't remember the exact number now. But I have this distinct memory of maybe being on day 3 or day 4, and this girl to my left just started crying. Like, you mean I can't drink forever? Like, how will I ever have fun again? And that hadn't even, up until that moment, it hadn't occurred to me. I was just trying to like be able to get out of bed and cope with my life, So like, I hadn't even gotten to the process. Like, will I have fun or not? I was trying to dig myself out of this bottom, like emotionally, psychologically, and financially, that like having fun hadn't even gotten onto my radar yet. And then I remember when she said it, I was like, oh, how will I have fun? Like, I didn't realize I was going to stop having fun. And then, those thoughts come where you're like, oh, all my friends are drinking and using friends. So I can't hang out with them anymore. And for my first year in recovery, I didn't do the normal hangouts that I had done up until that point. I had to say no to the weddings and the parties and the happy hours, because I wasn't strong enough. My impulses were still stronger than I was. And so, but as time went by and I got more confident and stabilized, when my day count got to the point where I was no longer tracking it by day and hour, which you tend to do, a lot of people tend to do in early recovery. When it got to the point, it was like, I don't know, like, I think I know I have over a year, but I was no longer treating it like, some kind of like stopwatch. That's when I really started to gain more confidence and start to seek and go to having more fun things. But back then it was still, when I would go to things, the alcohol-free options were always, the soda gun or water or coffee. And it was like, why do
Or
they
soda with cranberry?
Yeah, or soda with cranberry, Shirley Temples. Yeah, Shirley Temples. And so I always still, those first several years, I still felt kind of excluded or put at the kids' table, if you will. And working at a magazine in lifestyle content, like a lot of business would happen around drinks, whether it was lunch or dinner or happy hours. So I had to kind of learn to fake it. And I always learned to go up to the bartender and like ask them to make me a glass that was pretty with the lime or the lemon or the cherries or whatever. So I looked like I was fitting in. And then I would just try to slowly drink it all night, which is really hard for me because I drank fast before I got sober and I still drink fast, to be clear. So, but because nobody will offer you a drink if you have a drink in your hand. That's the trick, right? And so I had to learn those little tricks. And then eventually over time, I started having funny comebacks like, do you want anything? It's like, oh, sorry, no, you don't have enough. I started to get kind of snarky and witty in my comebacks, but that was my experience. And I know, like with Alex, she's a little bit different because she's a sober supporter. I mean, she doesn't consume on her own, but she's not necessarily identifying as being someone in recovery. But the sober supporters, to me, are some of the most important unicorns out there, because we need the sober supporters to align with us, and kind of stand with us on that one side of the dance floor, so that we can, and it's sober supporters like Alex that kind of, they serve as a bridge between the drinking and the non-drinking communities to kind of bring us all together. And that was what really attracted me to Alex and everything she was doing. Because I think that actually makes the message even stronger when Alex stands up for the sober community because she just knows it's the right thing to do. To me, it makes me feel even more a part of. And I don't want to speak for you, Alex, but it's just something I really admire about you.
Aw, Alex, I'll ask you, although I first want to say, like, I distinctly remember there was one friend of my brother's in like all of my 20s and 30s that stood out to me. She would be at the club as late as we were, and she never consumed any, like, water. That's all she drank. And I was always just like fascinated by, like, what do you mean you still have energy? It's like 4 a.m. This was back in the day when I still went out to the club at 4 a.m. But I wanted to ask this from both of your perspectives, but Alex, you first. What do you see as sort of the major catalyst that there's just so much more going on in this space? Let's, say 5-10 years, and it just seems to be building in terms of the sober bars, the events, the retreats, now pretty much everywhere I've been in the last year has a mocktail menu or is much more open-minded or like a 0 beer or something like, and they don't seem to look at me as strangely. And this is even in like the way out nowhere parts of Mexico. So I'm sure you're seeing like an explosion far beyond in New York.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen sober bars opening up in Seattle, in Nashville. There's a sober bar. maybe I wouldn't call it a sober bar, but more so a sober community center or like a sober movement out in Kentucky called Sis Got Tea, where they are a non-binary individual who has been fundraising to open up a brick and mortar and to really be the only place for people in recovery to feel safe, to be able to go and congregate and hang out and get to know each other. And watching this movement kind of erupt for the past 7-8 years has been really, really fascinating, because it's gone from just like the same kind of like 20 niche content creators to now hundreds of people really wanting to join the Recover Out Loud movement. And a lot of it is in part to people discovering and embracing multiple different pathways to and through recovery. And it's also being able to be a part of community inherently is the antithesis to being in the throes of your addiction, because all addiction does is it isolates you. It takes you away from those that you love. And the recovery community as a whole is just full of love. And for me, that has been the most profound thing to experience, especially since I'm not a person who personally did struggle with alcohol misuse, but I had recognized within myself, due to being a person in recovery for behavioral health, that anytime I would even just have like half a glass of wine, I would be so far gone because of being on mental health medication that helps to regulate my brain, regulate myself. And so I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't want to be this person. And it took me, doing that twice in college to kind of make that call, especially since I do have 2 family members who are still in active addiction and who have no desire to seek out recovery. But from all of the work that I've done as a coach and working with the recovery community, I still have so much hope that maybe one day they will. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe one day they will. And it's so important to keep that door open and to be able to have a vocabulary to be able to speak and engage with these individuals, because you never know how your story and how you lead your life can inspire and impact others. And so for me, and also for my partner, we're zero proof. We don't mess with anything. And I mean, my partner, he's never even had a drop of alcohol. And that's why I really admire him, because he's so firm and strong in that belief. And if we're out with a friend that's in new recovery, we're fine to, like, I go into mom mode. I'm like, here's a seltzer. Let's be cool. Like, you're not alone. Let's put a little lime in it. We'll look like we're having like something on the rocks. And I just love that I'm able to really show up for the people that I love and that I care about. And sometimes I'm the only person in their life that can do that, which is why I really find it to be such a profound honor to be involved in the community and to use my voice as an ally and as an advocate, because I've seen how dark things can get within my own life and within my own experience. I'm a multiple suicide attempt survivor, and I'm very proud that I've been able to find a way to take that pain that's been inside of me and to use it to empower others. And it's people like you and like Alysse that really inspire me in the work that I do in my day-to-day, because the clients that I work with that are on day 0, hour 1, they can't wait to be you. And I can't wait for them to get to that point too.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. Yeah, I love that you called out specifically the isolation and how it's such a transition from living in disconnection to deciding to live in a more connected way with oneself. And then, we need community. And I think it's something that's a true across the board, that people, even outside of the recovery world, are realizing that they need, we need more community. We need to intentionally be connecting with people and seeking out these opportunities. So yeah, and now you're connecting, you're teaming up. Anything specifically you want to share before we jump off here of what's going on this year?
So we have our February runway show coming up on Monday, February 12th at the Prince George Ballroom, located at 15 East 27th Street. Tickets are available on breakfreefoundation.org. And we welcome all to come and attend, whether if you're on minute 1, hour 1, day 1, or if you've been in recovery for over 40 years, come and check it out and see what a fabulous sober night out can be like. Our next runway show after that will be on September 10th, which is also the last day of Suicide Prevention Week. And it is also Suicide Awareness Day. And then we'll be doing some sort of event on October 25th, as that is Walk Your Talk Day in the state of New York, which is really cool and very exciting. And I'm sure we'll have more collaborative in-person events that will be brewing up with Alysse over at the Sober Curator.
And then I'll just tag on to that if you haven't checked out the Sober Curator, feel free to do so, thesobercurator.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. We're not really that good on TikTok, I'll be honest. But when you jump onto the site, there's just so much goodness there to dig around and look for. We have over 1,400 articles in 3.5 years, and they're broken into categories under lifestyle, which could include wellness with Megan. It can also include shopping with me. There's so many sober business owners out there and merchants, and the swag is getting so cool. Rehab Studios has some amazing stuff. One Day at a Time Apparel has some amazing stuff. And then, of course, we have a robust entertainment section that has Quitlit and addiction fiction book reviews. We have Movie Night with the Sober Curator and the Mindful Binge that's covering movies and TV shows that have addiction, recovery, or mental health as part of the storyline. We've got a network of podcasts that you can find there. We have a travel section that's really popping off. Sober travel is definitely becoming a thing. We also try to highlight events that we call Sobriety in the City. So if you have an event that's happening in your city, metropolitan area, we definitely want to know about it. We even have sober astrology and sober tarot card reading. So we are just trying to find all things sober and recovery that really help augment and enhance the sober lifestyle, so that you can, and if there's something on there that you think that we need that we don't have, by all means, let us know. We even have a section called Speak Out, Speak Loud for one-off contributors. Maybe you want to share your sober story or your journey. Maybe you wrote a poem or an essay that you feel particularly proud of. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to slide on into our DMs, or you can reach us at thesobercurator@gmail.com.
Beautiful and fun. It all comes back to, living loud, having fun. It's not about anything. It's not about taking on this sad new lifestyle. And mine has like 10x'd the opposite direction. I love that you called it a mocktail activation. I don't know if that's like a new thing that I just hadn't heard yet, but activation, I think, is a great word.
Hey, I'm Alexandra Nyman from the Break Free Foundation.
And I'm Alysse Bryson from the Sober Curator.
Join us on February 12th at the Prince George Ballroom for Break Free at New York Fashion Week, an immersive experience that blends art, design, and fashion with advocacy.
See and hear from models and designers, including Lady Cat and Trailblazers Designs, who are raising awareness for mental health and recovery through their love of fashion and design.
All proceeds will support the Break Free Foundation, who provides scholarships for those seeking treatment for substance use disorder. Get more information at www.breakfreefoundation.org.